So, did we have the dress rehearsal for the eventual final? Or what was it? I don't know. New Zealand versus India. Welcome to the morning after with my guy Rakimul Haq, as always. A lot of expectations out of this game. I guess we could say that it lived up to it in some parts, but not fully. It wasn't that full thriller that you were expecting because India still won with 12 balls to go. Um, we know there was the fiasco for the 100 at the end, so a few balls were wasted there. But initial thoughts about the game, what do you think?
Of course, big game, but in a weird way, it's not as big if you think about the whole context of the tournament, in a sense that both these teams are likely to be in the top four and very likely to be in the top two. So they,
Mm-hmm.
as a result, won't face each other in the semifinal and most likely in the final, as you said, dress rehearsal for the final.
Yeah,
We saw the England-New Zealand game in 2019, the group stage game. Most people don't even remember. It was a completely one-sided affair.
yeah, yeah,
Final totally different.
yeah,
So in a weird way, this wasn't as consequential a game because we know both these teams are definitely making the top four, no doubt
yeah,
about that.
yeah,
Having said all of that, it could have, as you said, been the match of the tournament, but I feel where it really slipped out was New Zealand's last 10 overs, them getting 50 odd runs, losing 6 wickets. I mean, it's kind of absurd. Like you walk in there with a man who's practically batting on 100 and you collapse like that. That's inexcusable.
yeah. I mean, so yeah, let's get into it. Let's get to the meat of it. Rachin Ravindra again, once again. Crazy World Cup for someone so young, someone who was probably not even in the reckoning for their first 11, right? 75 of 87, six fours, 1 6. Is there any? Do you think he's filled in the shoes of Kane Williamson? Absolutely fine. Like, is that what New Zealand was hoping for? That someone would step in that same way?
It's funny because the question initially was supposed to be whether Rachin Ravindra can fill the shoes of Michael
Michael.
Bracewell.
So yeah, yeah,
And suddenly it's become him filling the shoes of Kane Williamson. With the bat, I want to say yes, he has done well enough so far
yeah,
to warrant that number three spot, to say that he has done what Williamson would do with the ball. He's always going to outperform Williamson. There isn't much of a doubt
yeah,
regarding that.
yeah,
However, where New Zealand possibly missed Williamson today was the captaincy. And I don't want to
yeah,
be harsh on Rachin Ravindra because that's not his responsibility.
yeah, yeah.
And that's
But
something he cannot cover,
yeah, yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah, yeah. I think I agree because there was a phase when they were I guess you could say when they were fielding, right? That there are a lot of runs getting leaked and they didn't really have an aggressive setup or they didn't really bring in Lockie Ferguson early enough, right? When your two new ball bowlers are kind of getting sent around a little bit, you have to make it a little bit of quicker change than just going by the template. So that was there. But yeah, I mean, if we look at it, 75 from him. Big Daryl Mitchell, 130 of 127, nine fours, five sixes. Do you think the way he slowed down to get to his 100 might have costed New Zealand a little bit? 147 for three at 30 overs. That's where they were at. Sorry, two, not 147 for two after 30 overs. When Rachin got out, 178 for three after 33. They were getting 10 runs and over at that point after 30 overs. So, do you think him not having a stable partner plus him slowing down might have contributed to them being, I guess you could say, about 30 to 40 runs short?
It was part of it, of course, him slowing down, but then we saw the whole situation where even when he wanted to accelerate, he couldn't because there was no one at the other end to hold that batting lineup up. And that is, in a weird way, that is ridiculous because you have Mark Chapman batting all the way down at number seven.
Seven.
You
Yeah.
have Mitch Santner, who could possibly be a number seven himself, but he's a really good number eight. Like as far as
Yeah.
number eights go, he's really good.
Yeah.
And even with the tail, like the likes of Matt Henry, Loki Ferguson, Trent Bolt, all of them can bat.
Bat.
So
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
in that sort of a situation, again, taking nothing away from the Indian bowlers, Bumrah and Shami were absolutely fantastic. I think
Yeah.
Shami excelled all expectations. No one was expecting him to nail the Yorkers as well as he did,
Yeah.
especially towards the death. He's always been good with the new ball, was exceptional at the death as well. Having said all of that, of course, New Zealand will be disappointed. I don't think there's any point being too harsh on Daryl Mitchell
Yeah.
because even if he wanted to, let's say, accelerate and keep up the free-flowing game, the Indian bowling was tight from one end, and uh, what do you say, the non-strikers weren't really
Yeah. We're
supporting him as
supporting.
well.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Latham walked in. I thought when Latham walked in, Glenn Phillips should have walked out at that time because when you've got such a stage, when you've got such a platform already set, and you only have 17 overs left, or maybe 16 and a half, you let Glenn Phillips go out there and have 60, 70 balls to face. Even if he gets 60 balls to face and he scores a 75, 80 of 60, that adds a lot more to you than Latham going in there and nudging it around for a couple of overs, and all of a sudden you only have 14 overs left instead. So I think tactically they might have missed it a little bit. Mark Chapman batting at 7, mostly a top order batsman. I know we talked about him having a finisher role for the World Cup, kind of, but do you think if he's not bowling, maybe it might be time to make a switch and bring in Jimmy Neesham again?
It's kind of weird what Chapman is doing at number 7. I mean,
Yeah,
most days Jimmy Neesham can do better at that particular position. Chapman is an out and out, more informed player. He's gotten a century, I think, this year against both India and Sri
Sri
Lanka.
Lanka. Yeah,
But not down at number 7. He's not going to be all that useful down at number 7.
no,
And he's not bowling because they already have two left arm spinners who are
spinner.
better than him. So
Yeah,
obviously he's not going to bowl.
no,
You might as well play Jimmy Neesham. It's a
yeah,
no-brainer. He's the more
yeah.
experienced cricketer of the two, and he's going to give you
'Cause
more with
then you'll
the
have a
bat, with
fourth
the ball.
option with
And
the seam. Yeah, exactly.
yep,
Yeah, yeah. You have a fourth option with seam ups, and you have a tail ender. I mean, not a tail ender, a finisher
finisher.
who's been there, done that kind of thing, especially as far as World Cups are concerned, for New Zealand. So, but yeah, I mean, Mohammad Shami, I think two opposite stories, Mohammad Shami and Kuldeep Yadav for this match. Kuldeep caught a lot of the attack from Rachin Ravindra and Daryl Mitchell. First 4 overs went for 35 runs. They were hitting him out straight. That's what they were targeting. So they weren't really letting the ball turn in or turn out. They were just hitting it with the pitch, so they were hitting a lot straight. Um, so what do you think the game plan was? Because Kuldeep was probably the trump card, do you think that they were trying to basically keep him out of the game as long as possible? Even though India only played with 5 bowlers, so he was always going to bowl his 10. It's just not letting him settle kind of thing.
It's easier said than done, but one of the best ploys against Kuldeep Yadav has always been to take the attack to him. We've
Yeah.
seen that in the IPL, we've seen that in international cricket. That's his one weakness. Once batters start attacking, he sort of starts overthinking and messes up with his line and length. He
He
ends up
bowled
bowling
one
his
at
length
114.
particularly.
He bowled one at 114. That's how stressed he was about getting hit. It tells you. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, go on.
No, that's a good point because again, he has eh, like picked up his pace a little in this tournament. He doesn't slow it down and he doesn't loop it as much, which is fine.
Yeah.
But 114, he's not going to get anything out of that.
No.
That's not going to bother the New Zealand batters. It's a different story once you're bowling that sort of a thing against the Bangladesh batters because they get confused very easily.
Yeah.
As a Bangladesh fan, it pains me to say that, but they
Yeah,
do.
but that
It
is the
happens.
truth. That is the reality. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Wrist spinners try anything new, they get perplexed. But that's
Yeah.
that's not the case with these New Zealand batters. So yeah, I mean, on occasions he erred in line, particularly on the fuller side, and that's dangerous. When you have someone like Daryl Mitchell, he will go down the ground easily with you. He's just gonna stand there and hit basically tee off, as we
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
And towards the end, he did pull it back. I felt like his last over was crucial. I think he picked up
Yeah.
one wicket, went for 3 runs, and that was at
Yeah.
the very last stage, maybe with 7 overs to go or something. So that
Yeah.
was also very crucial in the
Yeah.
context of the game.
Yeah. No, no. Yeah. So his not second spell, third spell was the better one out of the three. They had to take him off after that one over where he went for like 12 or something. And then yeah, I mean Hardik Pandya was injured, so they replaced him with Sky and Shami. So 5 for Shami on return. It seems appalling that he was sitting out this whole tournament till now. Didn't really get a game in favor of because they were favoring Shardul Thakur over him. So you think is this where Shami basically cements his position for the rest of the World Cup?
Absolutely, absolutely, he does. And if I'm being honest, India will still be slightly worried because it's a good thing that the bowlers are doing well. It's a very good thing, but they still have four tailenders now.
Yeah,
So they
yeah,
don't want a situation where the game goes too deep, where they keep losing wickets. They need one of their batters to basically stay the whole way through. We kind of saw that with Virat Kohli. He did get out at, let's say, at the very end, but it didn't
yeah.
didn't
But
really matter.
didn't
You need
matter.
5 runs or 15 deliveries, it doesn't really matter. You also have Jadeja at the other end, who's very good
Yeah,
at batting with the tail, so
yeah,
he'll be fine. He'll
yeah,
manage.
yeah,
But having said that, of course, India will be a little worried with four bowlers, just four specialist bowlers at the end, and they will definitely be trying. Shardul Thakur did not have a good game against Bangladesh, and he hasn't looked the best throughout the tournament. He's been
yeah,
good in patches here and there.
yeah.
So what I think they will try as the pitches wear down a little more and they face more of the opponents from outside the subcontinent, I am sure they'll try and sneak Ashwin into the 11 somehow
Right, right.
because that gives them more batting.
Yeah. And India, that the one of the biggest reasons they didn't pick someone like Yuzi Chahal is because he's not good enough with the bat. So even though he's good enough with the ball, it makes their tail way too long. And to avoid that, they have dropped Yuzi Chahal. So it might be a case of Ashwin might get a game. He might get sneaked in. Especially if Hardik doesn't recover in time. They'll and yeah, I mean, if we move on to India's batting, clinical at the start again. Um, Same as what the Bangladesh game was for them. Um, Lucky Ferguson took the first wicket. Um, so Rohit Sharma, 46 of 40, but 27 dot balls. India's been prioritizing attacking in the power play, but you think that dot balls a little cause for concern for India, or it's just something that comes with batting in the power play
For whom? Sorry,
for Rohit Sharma?
Rohit. I don't think so.
Yeah,
It's fine as long as he's not getting out within the first 2 overs. It's completely fine.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think they'll take a few dot balls, and it's just Rohit taking his time playing out these pacers because, again, it's going to be a massive challenge for India once they face these same pacers
in semis and
in the
finals.
semis, in the finals, anywhere.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's the real challenge. So it's best that he plays them now and gets accustomed to them.
yeah.
That I think is the best way forward.
So Surya Kumar Yadav got sold down by Virat Kohli or what? Virat sold him down the river today.
I mean, I
Straight.
don't want to be too harsh here, but yeah, that is also pretty much what Ravi Shastri said on air. And we know Ravi Shastri isn't going to speak against Virat Kohli
Yeah, yeah,
unless there is something that really went wrong.
yeah.
So yeah, uh,
He
it
could have made
was
it if
a
he
bad.
if he if he actually wasn't
If he
ball watching. He could have
he
made
could
it.
have made it,
So yeah,
but let me put myself in the shoes of an Indian fan for once
yeah.
and say, 83 runs required, possible run out, even if there is, let's say, a 20% chance of Virat Kohli getting run out versus an 80% chance of Surya Kumar Yadav getting run out at that stage of the game, you would have sold Surya Kumar Yadav down the train as well. I mean, I,
Yo,
no
on my
disrespect to the guy. Like if
on my World Cup debut, I am not selling myself down the river. I am
no,
freezing
no,
to
as
death.
an Indian fan,
Oh,
you would
as an
want to
Indian
do that.
fan, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yo, Surya should have just gone to the other end and creased his bat and be like, Virat, get out.
You know what would happen? That then if this debut match would be his last World Cup match.
They
We
would
would never
ensure.
see Surya Kumar
They would
Yadav again.
ensure. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Uh,
No, I think it's a good thing New Zealand were able to keep pegging away a little. Even though India had what? A 50-run partnership with him and Kohli. I mean Kohli and KL Rahul. They had a good partnership with Rohit and Shubman at the top. And then yeah, I mean KL what's it called? Jadeja got a hit today. Surya, yeah, I mean only 2 runs, not really a hit. But yeah, do you think New Zealand might have missed a trick by letting India chase again? Is because if you're letting India chase, it's just Virat Kohli's in the kind of form in this World Cup. It just seems like he's absorbing it. Is that something for teams to look at going forward in the tournament? Just so there is a little bit of way to unsettle India because they do look like, they're the clear favorites now for the World Cup.
I think New Zealand would have definitely wanted to chase, but again, India won the toss, so
Yeah,
that's sort of out of their control.
yeah,
There isn't much to do. But yeah, having said that, New Zealand, I think New Zealand are one side, as we started the discussion with this very topic, that New Zealand are one side right now who could have actually, tried to go for that 350, 330 total, like 330 at least, if not
yeah,
350.
yeah.
Because unlike other teams, they don't really have to hold back and they don't have to worry too much of
They
what's
have
going to
nothing
happen,
to
what are we
lose
going to
in
get.
that
Nothing to
exactly.
lose.
Yeah,
Like again, worst case scenario, you have a batting collapse worse than the one you had today, and you get all out for 250. Either ways, if you can defend to if you can't defend 280, you can't defend 250. Doesn't really matter.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You need a 300 plus score to actually beat India, and you should have actually thought along those lines. But again, easier said than done when you're facing Shami in his all of a sudden red hot form, and you have Bumrah, one of the best, if not the best, death ball bowler of his generation.
yeah,
Easier said than done, of course. But
yeah.
again, they could have done better, New Zealand.
I think like just the way they pin, like to go back to Bumrah and Shami, the thing you were mentioning, like the pinpoint Yorkers, it just gave them no space at all. Like, and I think when Santner goes out second ball like that, it basically like Matt Henry just walked away from the delivery, it seemed like, and he just let it hit the stumps, right? So when you have three of Siraj, Bumrah, and Shami all in form, it's only better for India to have that situation. Because now they know that they're well for India, this is their big three pacers, right? Going back to Virat Kohli, Mr. Kohli can do no wrong at this World Cup. Or is he gonna have a World Cup where he becomes the highest run scorer, takes home man of the tournament, and all of that? Maybe.
This is the absolute peak Virat Kohli we used to see earlier in the day, the chase master Virat
Yeah,
Kohli that
yeah,
we used to call. See, back when Indian bowling wasn't as good as it is now. Before Bumrah broke into the scene, before Bhuvneshwar had that resurgence later
yeah,
in his career,
yeah,
before Shami became the Shami we know today,
yeah,
before Chahal and Kuldeep came into play and all of that, Jadeja rediscovered himself. India were leaking runs left and right
yeah.
when they went into those, overseas tours and unfavorable conditions. Even in India, the
Even
pitches are
in
flat as roads.
yeah.
They were leaking runs. I'm sorry, like the
Australia
likes of
scored like
Ishant
300
Sharma.
something, right?
You
Exactly.
have
Yeah, yeah,
the likes of Ishant Sharma, Ashok Dinda, Vinay
yeah.
Kumar.
Our
They were
Vinay
all leaking.
Kumar, yes.
Uh, they were all leaking runs left and right, and it was up to the Indian top order to make up for that. And Virat Kohli, that's where we saw the best of Virat Kohli. He would play just according to the situation. And today, Gautam Gambhir, of all people, by the way, said that, that's what makes Virat Kohli such a good finisher. Like, finisher isn't just someone who comes in and slogs at the end. again, he was just trying to take a dig at Dhoni,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
as
yeah,
always.
yeah.
But his whole point was,
Salty,
see, this is what
salty.
Virat Kohli is good at. Like,
Yeah,
starting a chase and then sealing it off. He could have easily scored a quick fire 50 and India could have still found their way to a victory. But
yeah,
then that wouldn't make him a finisher per se.
yeah,
Even though he couldn't literally finish it off today, what he did, he basically sealed the game himself.
yeah,
If you see the whole run chase and the pacing of things, he was probably what, 29 or 28 or 46 deliveries at one point. Who could tell by the end?
yeah,
He more than
yeah,
made up for it. Played
yeah.
a few dot balls for his 100. Again, looked a little odd
So,
doing
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Let's get
Little
into that. Well,
uncohly
what's
like.
this thing about this getting to the 100 thing? This is getting too much, no? At this World Cup, like this is back to back games now. Now he's gotten out for 95. What's going on? I thought these guys were all about team over personal accolades and stuff like that. Like it's not.
Unholy like I said, like it doesn't befit a team like India. It doesn't befit a player like Virat
Yeah.
Kohli. Like again, it's going to be a remarkable achievement once he gets to that 49th hundred and matches his idol Sachin Tendulkar. But again, it's a little odd when you're doing that in a World Cup match when you're just playing dot
And
balls for
especially
a
if
century when
you've gotten like 47 centuries before.
like I know
Yeah.
every single century is special, especially at a World Cup, but come on, man.
Come on.
This feels a little
Like, yeah,
much.
it's and I kind of don't like the fact that 30 they're like 50 runs away from the target and the commentators are starting their count. Virat needs 29. Can he get it? Like it's becoming too centric towards one thing. And it's like you I will say they do a really good job at this World Cup so that if you're a new fan, if you've never watched cricket before and things like that, they give notes and they give inputs about what's a power play, when is it happening, what's the difference, this, that, who can be outside, how many players can be. And then if you're a new fan and you're seeing this one guy is not taking runs when he's supposed to, it just looks bad. It just becomes like a me kind of thing. It's just not the way you want
Yeah,
to
this
attract
is a
people.
very, 90s India thing that we used to see. Like some
Yeah,
of us were too young to see that, but that's the reputation that 90s India had. Everyone other than Sachin Tendulkar had
yeah,
this reputation in the
yeah,
90s.
yeah.
But again, it doesn't befit a player like Virat Kohli. We literally never saw him do this
No,
ever.
ever,
So
never, ever. Yeah, exactly.
it's kind of absurd. Like I saw his first World Cup century in Mirpur. I was there in the stands. I remember that young boy. I say boy because he was
At
still
the
very
Yes,
young at the
exactly.
time.
Yeah, yeah.
But again, that fiery spirit and everything,
It just doesn't
he
match the
still
bill, fit the bill.
no no
Yeah,
no.
does not fit
He's
the bill.
still the same player. He's still an amazing batter and everything. But this whole playing dot balls for the century, even if his non-striker is the one encouraging him,
Yeah,
it
it's just
feels a
yeah,
little
no,
out of place for him.
yeah. I appreciate. All right, so to finish off, final thoughts. Um, going what? We're round 5 now. What are your thoughts? 4 more rounds to go for both of these teams.
I mean, if there was any doubt still regarding India, I think all those doubts have diminished. They have sealed it.
Yeah,
As for New Zealand, well, some of the commentators did point out, rightly so, that New Zealand aren't in as good a position as they might seem because we have to remember some of their opponents so far. Again, not downplaying the opponents, but some of their opponents and completely out of form England. We can see
yeah,
how out of form England are right now.
yeah.
Afghanistan,
Bangladesh.
Bangladesh, Netherlands,
And yeah,
and now India, who they have lost to.
yeah,
So they may not be as invincible as some of the other teams, or sorry, some of the other fans like us are thinking.
yeah.
But having said all of that, they're still a very good team. They've played some really good cricket. It's gonna come into the test once they go up against Pakistan, a team
But
they've historically not done too well against in the World
yeah,
Cup.
yeah.
And on the other
And
hand, you
then they
have,
have
of course,
Australia.
teams like Australia,
Yeah, and
South Africa.
South Africa. Yeah. So, yeah, will be interesting. So big game tomorrow, derby match, derby match. Pakistan
The
versus
Namak
Afghanistan.
Haram rivalry, as they like to call
Namak.
it.
Yes, yes. same pitch as the one that was used for India versus Afghanistan. So Noor Ahmed might make an appearance. We will see. So we'll be back with that tomorrow. Thank you for tuning into Bagaradda and keep watching.